Okay, can you state your name and who you are?
I am Mr. Posada, and I am an English senior teacher here at Blanson.
Okay. As you know, we have our newspaper club that you created and you came up with. And I just wanted to ask you some questions about that and how you feel about everything about that. I do have some questions here prepared, but we're just gonna go how the conversation goes.
All right.
My first question is, why was this something of interest to you?
Always loved writing. That's always been me, literally since a kid. And I don't know. I just always felt I created the running club, and that was fun. That was a hoot. Gave that away to Mr. Rick Henna, and I wanted just for students to have the ability to express themselves. The idea started last year, and actually students were actually very interested last year, and that surprised me. I honestly didn't think that was I think students would be that much interested in, but a lot of students had a lot of interest last year. For multiple reasons, we couldn't get the club started, but this year, again, actually more students were interested in this year. The reason I started is basically though is just to allow students to express themselves, and a lot of students actually want to do that, and that was really cool to see.
That's good to hear. It sounds like you have very genuine reasons for your interest in it and your thought behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for me. I like writing and editing, but I don't want to edit over 60 papers. That's not something I do in my fun time. But students actually volunteered to do editing and writing, and that was really cool. So, yeah.
Do you think this could be a way to like future? I'm thinking of the word. It's like people in the writing industry, like the people that write newspapers. If this is something that students wanted to do in the future, do you think this could help them get there?
1000%. In a way to persuade them to join the club, I told them I would write them a letter of recommendation. So yeah, but definitely. I'm also it gives them opportunity to branch out, right? It's just a new thing. For example, one of the positions for the newspaper club is interviewing people. People love to be interviewed, right? Talking about things, and a lot of students showed interest in doing that position. And when they ask me questions, this is the interviewers, the students who are asking me questions like, "What else should I ask them?" I'm like, "Think about it. Like this is a practice for you to become a journalist."
That's the way I was looking for a journalist.
Yeah, so I like think about it, take a moment, and then once they come up with all the questions, I look at their questions and advise them whether or not they should, or give them other suggestions for other questions. But it just gives them an opportunity to express themselves and to think independently and literally do it, and it's really cool. It's actually really cool seeing that.
Well, my question is, you haven't seen any of them, so everything that we're talking about is like it's fresh to you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay.
Ask me the question.
Okay. So the question was, why did it take you so long to put this together?
It took a minute because last year there were a lot of obstacles that interfered. I was running the running club. There was tutorials. There was not a lot of time to prep for lessons, so that took time to prepare the slides. We had our novels, so there was a lot of things going on. And again, ironically enough, this year, there's actually more things I have to do, but I just didn't want to go a second year without it. But knowing that, going ahead into the school year, I planned things out. I already had what categories I wanted to talk about. The layout of how I wanted the newspaper to look like, the positions available, how to like the little forms and quizzes for the students to take. So I planned all of that ahead of time. So that now that it's here and and again, I'm even busier now than last year. Those little details were out of the way, and that was a lot simpler. But yeah, that's what I would say. Why it took a minute.
The biggest obstacle was time.
Time, for sure.
And I feel like that's understandable. We all have a lot to do, and it's just like important things that have to find a way to fit into our schedule.
Yeah, I agree.
My next question is, does seeing students actually take interest in something you wanted to get? Sorry, I'll restate. Does seeing students actually take interest in something you had an idea about give you a sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, it's gonna sound a little cliche and corny, But seeing them happy has made me happy. That's actually one of the reasons I'm an educator. For example, I'll give you an example. I have a student named Gina, who's she was very excited to interview people, and like she was legitimately excited. Like, can I really? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And that's cool. I just want to do things that you want to do, right? The other students want to do. There's no point in forcing you to do things, and that's why I give them that option as well. Like for example, Gina. I asked her if she could interview a scientist. My friend's a scientist, and I asked her, and I told her, you don't have to if you don't want to, right? Obviously, you don't know this person, you don't have to. But Gina was like, yeah, for sure, a scientist, cool, and that's cool. Seeing the kids happy, seeing them do things that they like. I have another student, Yahaira, who is an artist, and her position is comics, and she showed me her comic, and I laughed, and she was happy about it, and she was proud of herself because of it, and that's the ultimate goal. Yeah.
So this club really does seem like something that's bringing the students together, really shining light on their interests, and something that they take part in.
Definitely, and get to meet new people too. That's like the ultimate goal too, as well. Once they graduate, regardless if they go to college or not, they're gonna have to socialize with other people, people they don't know at work. Doesn't matter, college or not, and that's another step to it. So yeah, definitely.
I feel like that was a very good answer.
Yeah, they're branching out.
My next question is, what has been your biggest challenge of getting something like this up and running? Which, honestly, we can cut that question out because we kind of already talked about this. So moving on, my question is, did your high school experience not only play a part in who you are today, but give you inspiration to start a newspaper club at the high school that you teach at today?
That's a great question. Yes, when I was a junior, senior in high school, there was a newspaper club, and I remember my section was poetry, and I tried to find that newspaper, couldn't find it, to like show it to you. They're like, hey, I did it too in high school. Couldn't find it, but I remember it was fun. I remember it was cool. It's like live. Like journalism is live. Like you got things to do. You have to do research. You have to talk to people, move things, read, and it's like I don't know. It's just interesting. It's a different. Well, yeah. In high school, I did write and did research, and I found that fun. Hence, I always liked writing in general. So, yeah, high school definitely played a role. My high school experience, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
That's good to hear that something that you did and enjoyed transpired over to where you are now in life, that it actually lasted with you, and now it's showing that what you have set up for your students here can like stay with them forever.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be small, but hopefully, at least one of these posts that we have, monthly posts, we can print it out, and because it is expensive, but we can figure that out, and they can have it as a memento that they did this in high school, and it's a newspaper club, and you did it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I can find mines, but because that was like the first time I felt, oh, I was published. I'm like, my name's in print.
It gave you a sense of accomplishment.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I want them to do. Like, hey, you can do it. Look at it. Here's a little foreshadowing of your future. So yeah.
It's great to hear. My next question is, what has been your biggest? I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong thing. My next question is, what is some advice you would give to other teachers around the world wanting to start similar clubs, whether it be in our district, at other schools, or like anywhere?
That's a good question as well, because I did my research before starting the newspaper club, and literally nobody has one. Like specifically in Aldine, not our enemy Avalos or Eisenhower, MacArthur, Aldine across the street. Nobody has one, and I did my research by calling, and I was like making sure, like, hey, do you have a newspaper club? They didn't. So what advice I would start is very interesting, because I'm starting it myself, literally. So I would suggest them to plan things out, like literally, the baby details. What categories do you want to talk about? How long should articles be?
All the small details.
Yeah, all the small details. Have suggestions of names for your newspapers. Those things come about, and they can get in the way. Those little details. So I would suggest start planning ahead of time before introducing it to the students, and then once you have all those details out, like when are you gonna meet after school, things like that. How long the article should be. All those things. Have those things planned out so that once you present it to the students, You have
total
all
put
the answers.
together.
Yeah, you have all the answers. No questions. Oh, you have questions, but you know what I mean. Everything's already laid out.
I feel like that's pretty good advice. Like you were saying, you didn't hear about any other schools, like even in our district, that have newspaper clubs. Do you feel like it's something that not necessarily grown out, but it's not as popularized because of maybe the tech that we have today? People don't want to be interested in something like a newspaper.
I'm not sure about the tech, but I think it's an effort thing for sure. It's a lot of effort. For example, yesterday after school, Monday, I teach English tutorials, specifically TSI tutorials, for students who pass the TSI. And so I had to rent out 2 rooms. One room was dedicated for the newspaper, the other room was dedicated for TSI. I was bouncing back and forth, but I was bouncing back and forth when I was done with the TSI first. So with the TSI, okay, read this article, cool. Newspaper people, this is what you're gonna do. This is what's happening, an update, etc., etc. It's a balance, and like I said, it's full, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Moving on from that, my next question is: do you believe this is a positive change in our school for students, and why? And I know you touched on, like we talked about, how it's something that can be good to show colleges, and it's something that can transpire with you for maybe the rest of your life. But what else do you think is beneficial for the club?
Culture. It gives students more culture. Honestly, the lack of sports, it's not a hindrance to the school, but it gives the students the ability to express themselves. It gives them the ability to meet new people. Once the students graduate, for example, a lot of them are juniors, they're going to become seniors, and then we're going to try to recruit 9th graders and 10th graders. And luckily, hopefully, this newspaper thing can keep going. But it creates culture for the school. We have a face letter already, but that's more for parents. And if a student sees that, they're like, oh, they're just gonna read over it and like glance over it. This is a newspaper for the students by the students, so students can see that. I have a student, I won't name him, but he had issues joining the army, and he was contemplating whether or not to do it, and there was issues with his family saying no, but then the recruiter saying it's not as bad as people make it out to be. But the point is that students from his age, literally high school students, are able to relate to that, right? They don't know what to do, they don't know if they want to go to college or not, but they can read from a student's perspective and then read that and then maybe help them come up with their own decisions. They're not trying to be recruited by an adult, or they're not being neglected by an adult. They're reading an experience from a student that represents them. So essentially, culture. It creates culture for the students by the students.
In a sense of community. Like,
Yeah.
You have that person that has been through that experience, and they can tell you about it.
Literally. And that will always exist. So, for example, he's a senior, so a freshman can read that. And once his time, this is his time to become a senior, he can read that still. We all have those archives, right? And he can be like, dang, I don't know what to do in my life. I don't know if I should join the army. Cool. Read this article from this student's experience. Maybe that can help you make your decision. But yeah.
I feel like that was some good points you shared there. My next question is: do you think the club could get more widespread to other schools in the district? And if so, would you collaborate with them? Like we talked about how other schools in our district don't have newspapers, but if they did, like, is that something you'd want to do?
That's a good question as well. My initial answer is yes, because why not? I'm open-minded. But then at the same time, no, because I want us to be the only ones doing this. Like, I don't care for anybody. I don't care for Avalo, Victory. Hope them, wish them well, but I want this to be a Blanson thing. We did this. We created this. If they create one and they want to collaborate, maybe. Maybe. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying
You want it to be our thing.
I kind of want to be a Blanson thing, and because we created it, and it's not a me thing, it's a Blanson thing, right? Yeah, I'm the founder, I guess, but it's genuinely not about that. It's us. We did that, and we created it before you did. So it's maybe a little ego thing from my end, but again, I'm actually open-minded. So yeah, definitely. I'm not sure what they would want to collaborate in, but sure, I'll share my resources. Why not?
With that, I have one last question for you, and it is: what is your end goal for this newspaper club? Because we did talk about how it can build that community and build that culture for students in Blanson. But what is your end goal? Like, do you want it to be where, not necessarily like the New York Times, but it has some popularity behind it, or what is your thought about that?
I wanted it to exist even after I leave. I'm not sure when I'm gonna leave. I actually really love it here, genuinely, but like really. But I just want it to exist. Does it have to be super duper popular? Uh, if we get to that level, sure. Obviously, we just started, so we have ways to get to that, but it's not impossible. The end goal essentially would be to continue, though. Like, that's the ultimate thing.
For it to be long lasting.
Yeah, long lasting. As long as Blanson's alive, the newspaper club's alive. Just like the teachers are here, they're always going to be teachers here, right? It's going to continue. Essentially, I just wanted to keep going. As far as the level of fame, sure, that'd be nice, but we have ways to go, especially since the first year. Yeah.
But what about if it is long lasting? What if it's things that like change and it's something that may if it's something that how do I say this? Something that's changed from like another English teacher came in and took over the newspaper club,
Yeah.
and they changed something, but it wasn't something that you felt like was a necessary change. Do you feel like that hinder you from wanting to start something else like this again because people have changed what you've created?
That's a good question. If a teacher came in and they wanted to implement their ideas, I wouldn't want to say no. It would depend obviously on the ideas, but I'm open-minded for sure. If I'm running the newspaper club, not that we're doing my things my way. Like I said, it's not an ego thing. I'm open-minded, but if it's like a straight up like not a great idea, then probably not. Once I let go of the newspaper club, which it might eventually happen, that happened with the running club, right? I started it. Me and Miss Kylie started it. Handed it off to Mr. McKenna. Now it's his baby, right? Mr. McKenna wanted to collaborate with a running club. Cool. I have no issues with it. In fact, I would want to join it. Just visit it every once in a while. But if it was the same concept here where I let go of the newspaper club and lend it to another English teacher or whomever, it's their baby, and they'll be able to do whatever they want with it. They can make it exclusive, maybe just 10 people. It's up to them. But as far as other teachers wanting to join now, sure. If I'm not in it and they want to change things up, also okay. So, yeah.
Well,
Does that answer your question? I think that answers your question.
yeah, that's just my question for the most part. That is all the questions that I have for today. I do really appreciate your time, speaking to me.
This was really good. This was fun. It actually went more funner than I thought it was going to be. It's funner a word? I don't even know. I'm an English teacher. That's interesting. Okay. I think that scared them. That would be cool. I did it on purpose.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Bob. This was really cool.